Roger, you said at your first press conference earlier this week that it was too soon to judge your season because you still had a lot of tennis to play. And then in today's match, you seemed to get stronger as the match went on. So do you feel that having a few weeks off and preparing has given you a fresher perspective going forward?
Well, yeah, clearly. I mean, obviously, victories always help the cause of showing that you're doing the right schedule. It makes a huge difference if you come here and lose first round. So it's then you'll have completely different conversations, for the next week or so, because tennis is very brutal in the judgment. People never believe that you play a good match when you lose. It's just the way it is. It always is. Apparently, you're mistaken when you lose, and never really quite as the opponent's good play. So I think today was a good match. And I don't think Novak should, for instance, walk away from this match and say it's a terrible match. Maybe he did, I don't know, but sometimes you have a tendency to overreact. But look, I think I'm playing really well. I've had a great build-up. Here I'm playing well right off the bat, but then again, like I said, the season's still long. After this, I have 4 tournaments to play. So I'll take straight sets any day, of course, and I'm happy with the way I'm hitting the ball.
Roger, yesterday you were very succinct in saying that how you modified your match to face Novak with certain specifics, and you really pushed it onto him today. When you face Andy, is that a completely different situation?
In terms of preparing?
Well, just in terms of your approach, how you modify it.
Yes, I mean, I guess against both players, or against the best player, you have to stay aggressive. There's no, my game anyway is not to let the other guy make mistakes. That's not the way I play. They are very different players in terms of their defending. Novak stays on the offensive when he defends, whereas Andy is much more, let's say, feel, or he plays with his slice, or he finds a way into the point very different than how the way Novak does it, and that creates a different type of attacking plan for me, the way I need to play against. But the rough game plan needs to be the same. It needs to be offensive, take it to your opponent, and play well, because these guys don't give you easy victories anymore. I think back in the day, when I was coming up against the best players, you could still sometimes just sneak away with good offensive play. But because today everybody plays from the baseline, you have to beat everybody. Nobody's just going to hand it to you, and that's the difference today. So that's why I guess it's hard for youngsters to break through.
Andy was saying earlier that there are distinct similarities between the court and the pace of the surface to that at Toronto, where of course he beat you in. Would you go along with that?
Very much so. I mean, the speed to me seems the same, maybe even a touch slower, I have to almost say, because of the heat. The heat is not as much here as it was in Toronto, which then makes obviously the ball travel faster through the air, and maybe gives it a bit more bounce. We played during the daytime there. I think it was 4:30, so sun is setting, so it won't be anything. The heat we had over there, we had a very often sort of muggy finals, I remember. Yeah, so conditions are pretty much the same, which is going to make it for a very tough and physical match.
Roger, has anybody told you that you do have a talent in languages?
You said that?
Has anybody told you that you do have a talent for language? Because the Chinese, the Mandarin dialect, that's perfect. How long did you learn the Mandarin sentences?
1 hour.
1 hour. Well, that was really good. Maybe
many times.
Maybe you can think of doing your speech tomorrow in Chinese.
No,
what about that?
I don't think that's far yet. I need to come back to that many more times. So that's a good thing.
Okay, back to the match. I think you served and volleyed a lot, especially during the first set. Probably you guys have a lot of long rallies. Was that something intentionally that you did, or was that just spontaneous?
I don't remember serving volleying much, to be honest. He's one of the best return players in the game, and he's dangerous. He catches the ball, in the proper place on his racket, comes back like a bullet. So you have to be very smart and selective on how you play, how you serve and volley. It's pretty else the same against Andy. Now I think the first set could have gone either way today. It was really an open battle, and I got better off him at the end of the first set, and I think for 10 minutes he was a bit out of it, and I would say it was a big advantage of that. I think that cost him the match looking back, because of course he was playing a bit more relaxed at one point, which made him somewhat more dangerous, but I was able to serve it out because I've been in that position so many times in the course of my career that I don't get too rattled through those kind of things or his play, and I'm happy the way I was able to finish it off. It was a good match, I think, overall from my side.
Roger, you defeated world number 2 and you are now the world number 2. How do you feel about it? And also, is that a very good step for you to regain number 1 ranking next year?
Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3, 4, maybe as long as I talk to one, that doesn't matter. I'd rather be 1 and 2, and I'd rather be 2 and 3, but this hasn't got much of an impact. This is not the focus, and why I'm here in Shanghai is to get back to number 2 in the world. That's a nice bonus, but focus obviously is complete. I'm trying to win the finals tomorrow, and obviously if I want to get back to world number 1 at some stage, I need to win tournaments and get deep into tournaments, and that's why I need to beat the best to get there.
Roger, you have cooperated with Paul for several months. In your opinion, what's the biggest weapon Paul brings to you?
Biggest?
Weapon?
Well, thank God I had a few before he came in. Look, it's been fun working with him, and still ongoing process. And we're looking at different ways to where I can play, more offensive, more defensive, using my strengths to my best possible abilities, and obviously tactical, making the right decisions. Things have been going well. Sever's out of the picture, and he's helping me a great deal as well. So we have a good team, and I like the way things are going.
Roger, going back to Andy and going back to the US Open, did you see any of his match against Stan, which was, by his standards, one of the most disappointing performances in a very long time?
Level of play, or just
level of play, approach, everything really.
I saw the end a little bit, so once I didn't see the whole 4 sets, I know looking back now, we shouldn't have lost the match because he served for the second set, didn't he? But I think Stan served for the first set.
Stan played very, very well, very positive.
It could have gone bad for Andy in the beginning. He was able to turn it around and then shouldn't have lost the match, but ended up losing it. Look, for a guy like Andy who's so good on the hard courts and played so well in Toronto, obviously disappointing, but I think he knows the talent Stan brings to the table as well, and tough match. That's why I wasn't happy to see him stand in my section and go in Paris, and I had to play him in the 4th round over there, so that was a tough match for me as well, and I almost lost that second set in the breaker too. But look, I don't think Andy played really poorly. I just think Stan had a good day, and it was one of those matches that could have gone either way, and it just didn't go Andy's way. So it was, for me, obviously, I was watching it with different glasses on. I was carrying the Swiss flag here and supporting Stan. Every point Stan was winning, I was happy because I knew how much it meant to him, the victory.
Have you spoken to Stan about that match at all?
Not that much, actually. I think I saw the next day, and I was more, hoping that physically he was fine, and that I was just happy that he's had these breakthrough results, because he's been knocking on the door multiple times now. He's had a good match against Rafa in Madrid, he's beaten me in Monaco, he's had some close ones against Djokovic, and so for him to beat, some good players, it's important, for a player to be able to move forward and on and learn from those incredible experiences, and especially beating a top 4 guy in a slam in that atmosphere that it must have been. It's a great effort for Stan. So, but after that, we didn't speak much about it.
Roger, also about the US Open semi-final against Novak. Which aspect do you think you learned from that semi-final and made you today win against Novak?
Well, completely different conditions. Obviously, it was more windy back in New York, a different set of court, different game, best of 5, longer tournament, so faster courts. So obviously, there was a lot that's different back then to here. I think the biggest problem for me back in New York was obviously missing match points, but that goes without saying. But I think I had too much of my mind focusing maybe already on the upcoming, maybe possible match I could play the next day if I were to win. And I just think mentally, it wasn't just because it was Rafa who won that match before us, but I just think the short recovery time really made it hard on both of us to maybe focus on what we really had to do. So I think I maybe let a game here and there go a bit too quick, and next thing you know, it's like the second and fourth set just went by in a hurry, and that at the end came back to haunt me. So I think that was the biggest problem for me. But overall, I still think it was a good match, and I should have won and could have won, and obviously that was a disappointing part. So maybe it changed the Saturday Sunday format after years and years.